Um, I've I've um I've mentioned this before on the show, and I'm gonna mention it again because for me, it was a pivotal moment in like my understanding of where culture had gotten to, and it was one of the moments where you realize like uh, whether I'm not sure whether life was imitating art or if art was imitating life. I tend to think in this case it was art imitating life. Well, it was 1997 or 1998, and I'm riding down the street in Savannah, Georgia. Never forget where I was. I was riding down Victory Drive, and I don't know where I was heading, but Victory Drive is a very well-known street in Savannah, Georgia. And as I'm riding down Victory Drive, this new song comes on the radio. And it's a new song by Erykah Badu. And this was after her debut album came out, like was a huge hit, was when Erykah Badu was like earthy and African chic and beautiful and different and clever before she got kind of weird. Like, I'm just saying, Erykah can be kind of weird today. Sometimes I be watching her, I'm like, you got some voodoo roots type stuff going on. Joker wake up in your house in the sunken place and he just trapped. He don't know where he is. But that's another topic. But this was like after her debut album with on and on and on and on. I'm talking I can roll in snow. After all of that, right? So there was like this brand new single from Erykah Badu. I think I was listening to E93 Jams, Savannah, Georgia. And the song was, I get tired of your ish. You don't never buy me nothing. I was like, okay, boom, 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 boom. And I heard the live audience with the crowd behind. Because every time you come around, you got to bring Jim, James, Paul, and Tyrone. I was like, oh, the women was like, yeah. And then she went on, and then, of course, you know the famous hook. I think you better call Tyrone. And the ladies was like, call him. And all the women went, ah. And I was like, oh, snap. I was like, she's saying that. Like, she's saying what I heard my female friends talk about. Because I had seen so many different women go through unhappy relationships, either family or friends or some stuff I did. Okay. All right. I wasn't living with nobody. I definitely wasn't driving nobody's car. They wouldn't give me no money, but I had done some stuff that I wasn't there and I'm not proud of. Right. But the song spoke to a moment in time that was like, whoa, she really saying that. Like, she going there. Like, this is really happening. This is what's really going on. And it was a pivotal moment in our culture because she's saying something that a lot of women thought and felt. This is 10 years. Well, about 7 years. 7 years after another pivotal moment, I believe, in the early 1990s. 1991, there was an album that I purchased that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm kind of ashamed to say it. I really am, because of the content of the album. But in 1991, it was an album called Niggas for Life by NWA. And it was the production on the album was pristine, like the music, pristine. But the content was horrible. Like morally, horrible. Like there is no way to justify it. When I go back and look at the lyrics today, and I'm actually gonna read some of those a little bit later on. When I go back and look at the lyrics today, I'm like, dude, how were you listening to this? But I was. Then I was like, how was grown men, black men, writing this type of stuff by women? One of the worst songs on the album was One Less B You Gotta Worry About. one less beat you got to worry about. And the lyrics in that song were horrible. This is 1991. It had an interlude on that song where Dr. Dre and NWA had a whole skit where they kidnapped the female on the side of on the side of the street. They pulled over, they talked to her, they asked her for sex. She said she was charging. They got mad, and when she said she was charging, one of them was like, grab her. I think it was MC Ring. He was like, grab her, grab that beat, grab her. And they grabbed the woman in the skit and bring her into the car, kidnap the woman, pull off, and then when she says something crazy, they shoot her in the skit. You literally hear the gunshot. Pat, pat, pat. I'm like, you just shoot somebody? Did you just shoot a prostitute in the song? Why do I mention that? Because it was a pivotal moment. Okay, watch this. Not too long after that, Dr. Dre comes back. New record deal. Okay. He comes back with another album called The Chronic. Heralded, looked at as a hip hop classic. One of the songs on that album was a song that had a very infectious beat and a super infectious hook, sung by Nate Dogg. It ain't no fun if my homies can't have none. It ain't no fun if my homie can't have none. Wait a minute for your lady, 'cause you gave up all your The whole song was, and I never met a girl that I could trust in the whole wide world. Really? Ooh, it ain't no fun if my homies can't have none. They're talking about having group sex with a female. Or street terminology, you're talking about running a train on somebody. Yeah. This ain't what the kids listening to today. This is what we was listening to. Grown people. So when we talk about these young people, oh, I can't believe what y'all listening to. No, this is us. This is us. That's 1991. This is 30 years ago. No, this is 31 years ago. 30 years ago. 31 years ago. That's what we was listening to. See, in my opinion, these trends come in 10-year pockets. I always say this. 70s, pimp era. 80s, gangster era. 90s, thug era. Early 2000s, scrub era. 2010 plus, the feminization era. This is what hip hop music showed black men in these different pockets of time. 70s, pimp era. Pretty Tony. Yeah, baby. Can you buy that? Nigga, I got more money than you. I got more bees than you. Look at my bees. Look at my car. Look at my fur jacket. Grown men walking around with perms and long fingernails and big stack shoes, selling women as a commodity for sex. 80s, Tony Montana. Say hello to my little friend. So the 70s is now the 80s, and the 80s is now, it's not selling women, now it's selling cocaine, large quantities of cocaine, the gangster era. Whether they was doing it or not, whether a lot of people were doing it or not, this is what media was portraying in great numbers, huge numbers, in great quantity. One of my favorite shows I used to always watch as a kid was Friday Night, Miami Vice, baby, Crockett and Tubbs. What was the show about? The show was about selling dope and drugs in Miami, Florida. What color were most of the villains in the movie? People of color. Black, Hispanic, Latino, all of that. That's what the show's about. 1990s, the thug era. The thugs now, so the 70s, the children of the 70s are now young men in the 90s, and they not selling big, high level of cocaine. Now it's the lower street level dealer. It's the thug era. Menace to society, boys in the hood, selling small amounts of crack cocaine on the corner. The thug era. Now, we can get into all the reasons why slavery, gentrification, welfare system. We can get into all that. Vietnam, there's several reasons why you have the fruits of these different times of our community in these pockets in history, what those seeds were and what we were living out in the fruits of those different causes, cause and effect, seeds and fruits. We could talk about that, but I'm just talking about what media was portraying. Then 2000, now it's the scrub era. Now the thugs are now scrubs. So the thugs are now scrubs, dudes that women are tired of. Now these women are working. They done had to take care of their own children and had to provide for themselves. They tired of it. They tired of meeting dudes. So now meeting dudes who ain't got nothing going for themselves. And now they talking about it in music. Now it's not, hey baby, and I love you, my man. I got a good man. All them R&B songs. I'm not saying they were gone because they still were there. But there's a bunch of cheating songs out. Tired of dudes doing this. Tired of you treat me like this. Tired of me being this. Now it's the women empowered themselves. And now they're like, look, I'm taking care of myself. You got to go. I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy who can't get nothing from me, singing out the passenger side of his best friend ride, trying to holler at me. If you live at home with your mama, oh yeah, I'm talking to you. Ooh, talking real, straight, clear, direct to the culture. You better call Tyrone. But you can't use my phone. Ooh, do you know how trifling you got to be for a woman to put you out of her house and you don't even have a phone that you can use to call your homeboy to come pick you up because you ain't got no car? God, dog. This a song. Then 2010s is the feminization era. The feminization of black men in hip hop and R&B culture, in music, in media. The question becomes: Is it the egg or the chicken first? Here's the question: if we know that what we listen to has an effect on us, I can tell you now that some of the stuff that I was listening to had a serious effect on me as a young man. The question becomes is what are we doing about it as parents? Because here's the thing: even if you say, well, you can't control what your children listen to, you can't make them, or it's too much stuff out there today, and there's stuff all over the place. It's YouTube and it's Apple Music and it's Pandora and it's SoundCloud, and it is all of that. But we can't just say, okay, well, it's too much, it's a lot going on, so bump it. We ain't gonna worry about it. No, you can't say that. The question becomes is, what are we going to do about it? Here's the question. What are our children listening to? That's one of the topics for tonight. Let's talk about it. All right. We've had this conversation before, but I want to frame it a little bit differently tonight. What are our children listening to? This is a real question, particularly nowadays, because to me, where it was a little bit of NWA and where it was a little bit of Dr. Dre, even though they sold massive records, there still was a lot of counter programming out there that would contrast what they were promoting. There was A Tribe Called Quest. There was De La Soul. There was Q-Tip. There was Poor Righteous Teachers. There was Public Enemy. There was a lot of counter programming R&B to contrast some of the negative stereotypical R&B that was out there back in the day. Today, to me, it seems way out of bounds. It's like it's a lot of this and not so much of the other stuff. And anybody who want to check out and say, well, you're being too deep, music don't mean that much, you know what I'm saying, it's really about who you are. Here's the whole thing. Remember this right here. It's the reason why they play specifically Miami bass music in strip clubs. It's a reason why they play trap music in strip clubs, because it has a certain beat to it, a certain rhythm to it, has a certain flow to it, makes the women dance a certain way, because that's what they want the women to do in the strip club. It's a reason why we play worship music in church, because the music has an effect that opens you up and allows you to receive and hear from God and allow you to connect to the Holy Spirit in a whole different way. It's a reason why we do that. But if you want to discount all of that, remember this right here. Busy Bone put this video out last year, and he said that the music industry of the late 1980s into the early 1990s made a pact with the private prison system, where they wanted the music industry, the private prison system, when states privatized prisons and turned the prison system from state entities into private business entities that were owned by large private organizations, not publicly traded. Some of them are publicly traded now. But these large private prison systems made a pact, literally sat down and made a pact with the music industry. Check it, Google it, see the video on YouTube, where the music executives made a pact to put out the majority or only or overwhelmingly gangster rap music. Why? Because the gangster rap music had a certain effect that made young African-American men act a certain way, made them commit certain crimes, so they would wind up needing a bed in a private prison. And somebody can charge whatever, however many hundreds of thousands of dollars per person that they were paid by that particular state. Dollars and cents. If music didn't mean nothing, then why would private prisons go to the music industry and say, help us out. Help us with our marketing plan because we need some more customers. Let's talk about that and a whole lot more. We got to talk about the Apollo, baby. Just got back from New York City, Harlem, New York, I should say. And plus I got a surprise, something I'm going to surprise Jaleel with, Unissa with. Text your mom and tell her, make sure she watch the show. Coming up in segment 1, Jaleel. Yeah, we're talking about that and a whole lot more. Hey, family, call your mama, call your daddy, call your auntie, call your uncle, and let them know that Donna's backstage, Jaleel's in the other room, and it's about time to start the show. This is the AKINTUNDE Show, family. Let's go.
Another track, late production, but no joke, entertainment, let's go.
AKINTUNDE is gonna make you laugh real loud, so come on, scream it out. AKINTUNDE is gonna make you laugh real loud, so come on, scream it out. AKINTUNDE.